I'm having a conversation with Chidi Okwudiri, who leads our technology practice, and he was sharing with me about some of the good things that he is doing around capturing logos for customer things. And I thought I would open this by showing what we do here at Palecto because this is my orientation. I really have not seen this. I am looking forward to seeing what Chidi has done. Let me, Chidi, show you what we do just to get an orientation so when we talk, you can contrast compared to what
Right.
we've done. We did this out of necessity. Let me show you what we did inside NetSuite. So the first thing I wanted to reveal here is here, this is one of our customer solutions. And what we basically did is every time that we have a client engage, we basically get their logo and store it in the image, the built-in customer reference or the built-in image reference in the customer record. We also created a custom field that we call a height of 63 so that we can make them uniform. And then some of the innovations that we did is because of, we're very strong technically, is on our website, we went ahead and had all of these logos automatically deploy. So all of these are coming from our customer record. They are driving the things that are representing the elements here and so forth. And all these are connected to our clients. Now, we had to stay in a practice of doing that and so forth. And sure enough, once we do the logo, we don't think about it anymore. Perhaps there's things that happen around that, but we just sort of assume that things are good around that. That's my orientation, Shitty. Let me stop sharing and maybe you can share about what you've been up to.
All right, that's good. Thanks for that introduction, Marty. And interestingly, we're going to be talking about a solution for the same client solutions. The business is around equipment, and so they kind of create these rooms and they can like create equipment for a whole site and set up the audio visual and all of that. So part of that is making an estimate and showing that to the client to explain what they're going to do. So they created a very beautiful estimate document, and to make it even warmer, they wanted to include the client's logo on the first page, which is typically what you like. How nice is it when you go for a presentation and you see your logo.
Yep.
But of course, that could work both ways, because if you suddenly saw your old logo, then you might cringe a bit and say, "Oh no, these guys are not on top of their game." So they realized that for two things. One, they didn't want to have to go pick all these logos from the website of every client, because that's just labor intensive. They have thousands of clients in the account,
Mhm.
and you don't know which one you're going to create an estimate for next. So it's like they didn't want to go down that route. So the request was, can we have a way to just get logos? And initially the idea was, let's get these logos and store them in the system on the file cabinet, similar to what you just showed, so
Yep.
we can reuse them. So that was our starting point. And as we started looking around, we found a few services. And one of the things that was clear very quickly is that most of these services build their business model around the number of times the logo is displayed, etc. So they don't
Mm.
want you to store them locally, which kind of makes sense, because if you got it once and stored it, then it doesn't really give them any recurring revenue. But beyond that, another reason why they don't want to store the logos is part of their business is they go around and try to keep logos up to date. So they also have a way that if, as a company, like let's say Prolect change the logo and we suddenly saw that what they have is wrong, we can go and say, hey, update this brand information. So part of their offering is your logo is always going to be up to date. You don't have to worry about that, but then you shouldn't store it also. We give you a URL and we maintain that.
Okay.
And so the project then became finding a service that will work for them. We had dimension requirements, and so some of the services only give square logos. They don't give PNGs, etc. So it was about finding the one that we get the original logo, not always square, and we can also get one, with a clear background. We ended up with brand fetch. I'm sure there are others out there, but brand fetch met requirements. Is not a promotion of brand fetch. I have nothing specifically with them, but they did meet requirements for this client. And so what this looks like then is, I'll just go ahead now. I'm looking at one of their customers, ProShare, and I have an estimate for ProShare here. They call the estimate document a success plan.
Okay.
When I click this button, it triggers one of our accelerators, CRE, that draws the PDF.
Our
And
content
so
rendering
what
engine.
our content rendering engine, yes. What happens then is, as part of the process for CRE, we added the logic via the JavaScript override mechanism that goes out and checks, do I have a logo for this client? If I do, I can reuse it. There's no need to make a new call. So we have a bit of caching there. And then if not, it goes out to the service to brand fetch via the API, and it gets the logo. Brand fetch supports multiple means of searching for logos. You can search by company name,
Mm.
by domain, and by some other identifiers. Of course, the domain is one that's interesting because it's kind of stable.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so the good thing is this client is already tracking domain names. So
Awesome.
we keyed in on the domain names.
Okay.
So we give this domain name to Brandfetch. I could actually just go live now and just show you what the logos look like. If I put in, let's see, Prolecto first, just to make sure they have our stuff right. There you go. That's our logo.
That is,
And then have the square version of it,
that is
what
our
they call
square
the
version.
icon.
Yeah.
So in this case, I'm looking at ProShares, and that's their logo. So this is what we want to get. And so it makes that call out and it gets the logo. I had done some
So,
tests with
so the
Prolecta just to
so
see,
the key is you're not storing it, but you are getting a reference to a URL or something that when you get a hit or a reference, you hold that.
yes, so we are storing it. There is some caching mechanism involved. So let me just get this. It's called customer logo because we realize we can reuse it. We don't have to make a call each time because
Hmm.
they send us back a URL.
Hmm.
And so effectively we can store that URL here. In this case, this is the URL for one of the clients. And so part of the logic is it checks if we already have a record on file, like cached. If not, it goes and makes a call and then it creates this record. So the
That
next
makes
time
sense.
for that same client, we don't have to make unnecessary API calls. So there's a bit of caching there. Plus, we also support having the file. So if we already have clients for which we have the file for whatever reason, maybe their domain is not live, and we somehow got the logo, we can always put it on a file cabinet, and in that case, we would allow net using the file stored in NetSuite as well.
Okay, but if you're calling out to their API and you get the right URL, that's great. It gives you a reference to the logo. You don't store it yet. You don't store the actual binary file in NetSuite. You just store the reference to
Exactly.
because that's their service is to make sure then you always have the latest logo.
Exactly. That's what it is. Plus, there is a bit of extra work we're doing. For example, this logo is 820 by 820.
Mm,
If we drew it on the front page, it would be too big.
mm.
So what we're doing also is as we're getting the logo, we're storing the original dimensions. We have an app setting, configuration parameter that lets us know what the maximum dimensions are for that PDF. When as part of the process, we scale it to
Mm.
get the new dimensions that fit. And the beauty about this service is when I change the dimensions, like this is the real logo now. If I did 400, it knows to resize it
Oh,
dynamically.
that's
So
pretty nice.
effectively, yeah, we get the new dimensions and then update the URL we pass to
Oh,
CRE with the
that's a
right
that's a great value
password.
add for the service itself.
Right.
And then I
So
see
that's
where you
what.
programmatically did that. That so when you use the application, when you know you need it, you can make a reference change. That's powerful.
So that means if you have different use cases, like in the example of the website, maybe some area you want to show certain size of logos, but other when I click to a full page, for example, on a client testimonial, I want a bigger logo. We just store one pointer and then we're playing with the URLs dynamically to get the size we want
Got
to
it.
display.
Got it. Okay. Did the client say they're going to do anything with it facing their marketing website? Because that's some of the interesting integration that we did in our marketing website. We integrate back to NetSuite so we could be just running our business and marketing's getting the benefit of us just running the business.
Right. So I don't know that they have that use case right away, but I do know that they're asking now to say, well, now we've solved it for this document. Can we use it in other contexts? That's the
Naturally.
question that came from. I'm not sure which context is next, but I think we can scale what we've done can be applied to other places because ultimately all we're storing is the URL and some information to allow us scale the image dynamically. I can see that being used. I don't know if that's their next use case,
Oh,
but definitely they're looking at more.
oh, okay. And would you say that like this would be relatively straightforward that we could give to our clients now that we have the pattern down?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just, the business logic is oriented around just this notion that we have a domain name.
Hmm.
So that's, the rest of it is agnostic to the actual use case. It goes find domain name and it stores in that record. So we can offer this with little effort, package in a way that other clients can benefit from it.
Got it. Got it.
Definitely.
Okay. Hey, this is simple, easy to understand. I can see the benefit of this so that people could just be focusing on what they want to be focusing on and not having a concern like this. We have to hold the concern at Prolecto, and we're kind of doing it conventionally, but we're getting it done.
Right.
But it's work to get it done. Okay, well, this is great. I would say it'd be great for me to share this in the community. Anything else on your mind?
No, that's all. That's all I wanted to share. So.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and conclude.